When it's time to begin, it's on the Rewind Around with John Pollock and Wai Ting. The A-Team that makes sense of these things we see in the ring every week on TV. It's Rewind Around for Monday night. Download it Tuesday morning from the Post Wrestling site. It's Rewind Around for Monday night on USA Now on the John and Wai Take the mic.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rewind to Raw. Monday night, October the 30th. I am John Pollock alongside Wai Ting.
How you doing?
For Halloween. Are you ready?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Are you?
Sure. Yeah, I guess so.
Got your costume?
No costume of any sort. It's going to be pretty cold tomorrow night. That's what I understand. Actually, it's going to be pretty cold in the morning.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. That's what the temperature is telling me.
Wow. Your kids going trick or treat?
They are, yes, both of them. So that will be tomorrow night. Yours? Not quite.
14 months, he can barely walk. So, but got to work.
So you got to do the heavy lifting. I mean, who's going to say no to a 14-month-old child? Can't really do much with the candy at this age, can he?
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, we don't really allow.
Next year might be go time though for him. I think next year you could probably do it.
Is that so? Well, I hope the temperature is a bit nicer next year.
Be 2 next year. Yeah, I think next year you go for it.
Really? Okay, we'll see. It's a lot of work.
It's not really. It's like anything constitutes a costume. Like you can just buy something off Amazon and boom, you're done. Couple houses, you're good. He'll be bored. He just wants to eat the candy. Up and down the street, done.
You make it sound so easy. Okay, maybe we will.
This is not like one of the strenuous activities of the year.
What are their costumes this year?
Spider-Man and a giraffe.
Excellent. Wow.
Yeah, the Spider-Man. So it's a pretty good costume.
Fantastic.
Yeah. You know what happened this week? I ordered this jacket, like a winter jacket, and it was delivered to the wrong house on my street. And when they drop it off, they take a photo to prove that it was dropped off.
Mm-hmm.
Thing had been dropped off for about 20 minutes and someone stole it.
Oh no.
This is quite the issue in my area where a lot of packages just get swiped. So it's becoming a real annoyance for people. So if you get something delivered, you better grab it instantly, because I think they're like these professional spotters out there that are just looking for these houses that have unclaimed packages, and boom, they grab them. So I don't know what my best course of action is. I really want to catch one of these people in the midst of it. Like I've even contemplated putting like an Amazon like package out there and just like filming.
I trust you might have a camera right in front of your door.
Well, I don't know why I should broadcast this. The thing is, it's some of the people on our street have like security footage. Yeah. And they've posted like the photos of like people that have that have grabbed their packages. And it's like there's nothing that anyone does about this. There's nothing that is you can report it to the police, but this is not going to be a priority issue. It's like, oh God, the Amazon thief. Let us put all of our people onto this issue. Like, what would you do, Wave?
But at least you know what the person looks like.
It's nice to be a deterrent. Like, I think that's the key. So it's like, should I invest in a big security camera, or should I just put up a sign that says you are being recorded? And that might scare them off just as much.
You could do that.
They might not know where the camera is, and
that might deter somebody.
But man, it drives me nuts. We've had multiple things stolen recently.
You did?
Yes, yeah, us personally, and other people on the street too.
Maybe you can. So I have like a planter box, like like for plants, and I just tell I have a sign that says to all the delivery people to leave it behind it, and if you can't see it from sort of the front of the house, I'd like to think that it's helped. Kind of been lucky so far, haven't really had that happen to us.
That's smart. You've got to be thinking about that. I'm thinking of like getting a PO box or something. Like why?
Okay.
Well, yeah. Anyway, so there you
go.
But I want my goddamn jacket. That's the issue.
So they're not honoring.
They are going to honor it because we inquired. We were like, we got them notice that this has been dropped off, but we never heard a knock. We didn't hear anything. And then when they sent us the photo to prove that they dropped it off, it was like, yeah, you dropped it off at the wrong house. So they did make the mistake of dropping it off at the wrong house. So I'm not out of this.
How do you know the people that they delivered it to didn't steal it?
Well, we went and asked, and they were I think they might have gotten anyway, they just stated they did not get this. I mean, I have no way to prove.
Did you check their size?
I mean,
their
these
arm's
people,
length?
they would not get any usage out of this jacket. So I feel it's like an older couple. So I feel like my jacket was a subject of theft.
Okay.
But anyway, so if anyone sees a random jacket,
jacket?
tomorrow night, great costume. Someone's dressing up as a citizen, but underneath they're just a criminal. So
what kind of jacket?
It was like a pretty nice jacket, like
style, color, you know.
It was like a navy blue. What's the grand description of a jacket? I don't know. I didn't get it, so like I can't even tell you anything about it because I didn't even get a chance to see this thing. I bought it online.
Could have been a fur coat, you know, some descriptor, jean jacket. You know, lots of types of jackets out there.
I want to see the reactions of some of these people who just grab like they see Amazon, they grab it, and like some of the shit that it's like, what was the purpose of this? Like what I stole? Like 9 times out of 10, I shouldn't say 9 times out of 10. If it's Amazon, I would say your percentage of something useful is going to be. But I mean, you take a random package. I mean, the odds are it's like, okay, you made away with socks. Do you feel good about yourself? Are you going to go to sleep feeling like, wow, that was worth it? That was something to ruin somebody's day and put them out $20, and I got these socks or this fur coat that John Pollock purchased.
That's sort of the gamble, isn't it? You know, but if it's free to play, I guess why wouldn't?
What society are we living in? That's my larger question, Wai. What kind of society condones such actions on such a repeated basis? That's what I want to know.
Awful.
Okay,
Terrible.
you're going to be the subject of one of this, and now you've just given away your hiding spot on a giant platform such as ours, and people are.
Well, at least I have a camera. You told the world you don't have a camera.
Well, that's what they think. That's what they think. You know, I'm going to I don't know. I'll find my form of security. Okay, I'm just gonna sit. I'm just gonna hide. Okay,
you're about to start packing. I think
I'm gonna catch this person. That's what I'm gonna do. Okay, I'm gonna find my jacket.
Watch out.
Yeah, I'm coming. All right, we have lots to discuss, lots to get into from tonight's an epic edition of Raw from Greenville, South Carolina. Wai, did you get to watch any of the fight between Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou, or the surrounding coverage, or the hundreds of people flowing in for this event, from Kanye West and Eminem to Mike Tyson and Chuck Liddell? Like, dude, everybody, like every boxer you could imagine of the last 3 decades was flowing in for this thing. What did any of this come across your purview over the weekend?
I largely stayed away from all of it, but upon maybe some, what many would consider to be a shocking result of the match itself, I decided to watch some of the highlights. So it seems like a weekly occurrence now, me digging into boxing highlights.
I mean, it was something. Like, we went in and Francis Ngannou was an enormous underdog, and I'm hardly going to be one that claimed to have any prediction that differed from most people, that I thought this was going to be a routine win by Tyson Fury. His title was not even on the line in this fight, but I ended up watching the fight, and I mean, Francis Ngannou not only equated himself well, but you had a lot of people believing that he won this fight. The key being a knockdown he scored in the 3rd round, which, as soon as I saw this knockdown, it's like, it does not matter what the hell happens after this moment. He has knocked down the heavyweight champion. This is going to be the photo of the year in combat sports, and it is going to be the defining photo of Francis Ngannou's career, barring something greater that this man happens to do. But it was an incredible moment, and they went to the judges' scorecards. Fury did win by split decision. I thought it was, I was not like actively scoring this, but I thought it was a very close fight, and I feel like this is really the win and the loss. it was irrelevant by the end of it. This was not like the title was even on the line, and Francis Ngannou is made in boxing. He can now open the door for so many other high-profile heavyweight fights. I don't know what he made for this fight. I've heard speculation of like into the 8 figures. I think Tyson Fury was guaranteed like 50 million for this fight and already had a follow-up fight scheduled for December 23rd after this. So, I mean, this certainly leads to, for Francis Ngannou, he's got a mixed martial arts contract with the PFL, but the money that he is going to be able to make in his next boxing fight, and there will be another boxing fight, whether it is Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, or whether it's a rematch with Tyson Fury that I think would be enormous next year. Once you have like, this was, I don't want to compare this to like Rocky 1 because Francis Ngannou was not a guy off the street here. I mean, this was your lineal UFC heavyweight champion, but there was absolutely no prayer of him coming in and being competitive with the lineal boxing heavyweight champion. So you've got a great story for a rematch after this, and many feeling Ngannou won. And the question of, was this just the best night of Ngannou's life and the worst of Tyson Fury's? So anyway, that was the big story from the weekend, but it was just watching this entire thing. And God knows I did not watch this entire presentation, but this pay-per-view, it lasted like 6 hours, and they produced this like they did a opening ceremonies for the Olympic Games. It was like 6 hours in length. There were 2 separate arenas. There was like an indoor and outdoor arena. They built this venue for this fight. And I would love to know what the all-in budget was for this, from the purses, the construction, the celebrities, influencers, fighters flowing in. Like, this might have been the largest budget ever for a combat sports event. I can't imagine what would be near this. And you just watch this way, and like, this is where we are at now. This is the future of combat sports. I think this is where big MMA fights are going to go, big boxing fights. Like, they already are securing all of these massive heavyweight boxing fights. We know what the state is with the WWE and professional wrestling. Vince McMahon and The Undertaker were part of this event. Vince McMahon calling Saudi Arabia, "This is our home." This, like, for years and years, we have been talking about this, and this is the plan in action, and it has succeeded. I mean, that's the conclusion I came at the end of this, is that this grand idea of transferring all of this power and using the very influential drug that is sport, it has worked. And you are going to see, like, this is a level of production and money that I don't think many are going to be able to compete with. And I'm very curious to see how much of a transfer of some of the biggest fights are going to transfer themselves over here to Saudi Arabia.
It's combat sports in general are I don't know how many people view them as sort of like, traditionally ethical hobbies or forms of entertainment. They are,
but this is going to be way all forms of sports and entertainment that we're going to see, like, of these, the level of, concerts that are going to be going there, major sports leagues. Like, we already see like a Ronaldo who is making like, 213 million a year or something, playing for the league over there in Saudi Arabia. I mean, combat sports is just one area of concentration, but it certainly extends further. And it is, to me, only going to expand to make this like the combat sports capital, to make it an entertainment destination. And this, I mean, if you see this broadcast on Saturday, like, here they have the platform of all platforms for sports fans. It's an ESPN Plus pay-per-view, and it's all of the talking points that we hear on WWE shows, and praising the note that, like, this is as much a tourist destination point that they are selling. And I mean, and again, I definitely want to, as we talk about it a lot this week, like, differentiate like the people of Saudi Arabia versus the government of Saudi Arabia that is ultimately funding all of this and doing so for a reason. And it's been a successful strategy for them. Like, that's my takeaway from Saturday. Like, this has worked. Whatever your personal opinions are, like, you cannot deny that this has won out.
Well, probably would have worked a lot sooner than even now if they didn't kill a journalist.
Yeah, that might have slowed things down for a few years, but they have gotten back on track after all of these years. Did you get to see any of Vince McMahon and The Undertaker? They did do surprisingly some interviews while they were over there, including a Mike Bond of MMA Junkie, and not a whole lot to take away from it other than the comment Vince McMahon making about this is our home now and emphasizing that several times, and also being asked about his history with Dana White. And I would go out on a limb and imagine that because he was traveling, Vince McMahon missed my my update last Friday when I wrote about the history of Vince McMahon and Dana White, because it seemed like he was not as up to speed about all the stuff about the history of himself and Dana. But yes, he must have missed that one while traveling. He did make a point of saying I'm the better businessman, whether it was in jest or not. I never know. I don't know if Vince McMahon has a sarcasm filter. I think it's just that's Vince McMahon.
Sure. Yeah. Who knows when the character begins and when the real person ends? I don't know if he knows at this point, but just look at this picture though.
I was just gonna say, like, to me,
look at this. Like, I mean, okay, we all know the Undertaker, Mark Calloway, is the most loyal soldier that Vince McMahon has ever had. He seems like, for a guy who commands maybe as much respect from the public as he seems to for his career. Look at the loving eyes he gives to Vince McMahon, just like a very loyal dog next to his owner, ready to bite anybody who, Vince wants him to.
I'm glad to see The Undertaker has come to terms with all of the public accusations over the last 18 months, and he's come to terms with all these problematic issues.
Yes, right.
It's good to see.
I mean, Vince calling Saudi Arabia his home. They need this deal to renew, at the end of this what term? Well, how far are we? 5 years?
They're only 5 years in. They've got another 5 on it. This is a deal that brings them about $100 million per year. That's like 2 Tyson Furies. And yeah, they will
not only do they want it to renew, I'm sure they're looking for an increase however they can, at levels like this for this event.
And in all seriousness, in the Observer, it was reported, like Vince McMahon, it seemed like, was very instrumental in the UFC getting this deal with Saudi Arabia. And listen, you have to look at Vince McMahon the individual and Vince McMahon the businessman. And for someone to have already been able to assist in that deal, I can only imagine what the UFC is getting for their specials that are going to be multiple cards per year. That's a big asset. Like, that has been a country UFC has never gone to. And I think that, yeah, when this deal is up, it will be very interesting to see like where at that point is Saudi Arabia looking like, what is their benefit? Like, this is not are we making money on this deal or not? It's the value WWE brings to us, and now by extension, the UFC. And you would think that would likely continue, but who knows where this country is going to be 5 years from now. If you watch this on Saturday, I mean, I see it being like this is going to be a worldwide force when it comes to sports, entertainment, and all things in between.
Do you think there's going to be a greater demand for these cards to feel not just big for a Middle Eastern card, but big on a global scale?
I think they only are going to want to expand. Like, again, if you saw the production that went into this show, I could see them wanting to grow this even larger, like to get not just like they're going to get a fight night card next year. That's the first card. I think they are going to be shooting for the biggest fights in the world and the ability to put on a level of production that no one over here can do for fight sports. They're competing with like the spheres of the world that have just opened up in Las Vegas. Like, that was, I think that is the level of what they are competing with. And money is not going to be any kind of an object, as we saw on Saturday. Like, I would love to know what the grand total was for that spectacle on Saturday. That just, I mean, to the point that, hey, do we need to have Riddick Bowe? Yeah, fly Riddick Bowe over. We need Riddick Bowe. We need Junior Dos Santos. We need, like, just sure. No price was any kind of object for this. But yeah, there was a lot you can take away from this card on Saturday. We will be discussing further with Kareem Zidane on Brandon with Thurston and myself this coming Wednesday, 3 Eastern. Bryan Danielson. So this is this is such a Bryan Danielson type of story, an unfortunate one too. So Wednesday, we come on like minutes after Dynamite, so we are just like watching this, and both Way and I had, I think, the takeaway most had that this, felt like a injury angle, and the way it came off, like they're shooting him. The announcers are paying attention to it. They are even referencing like Okada is giving him some look or almost like making fun of him. Like just the way, like it just felt like an angle. We learned later that no, he does have an orbital bone injury, but in fact, this was an injury angle, but an injury angle for a real injury because I think it was SI.com that was the first to report that he suffered the injury a week prior in the match with Andrade on Collision. So he comes into this match and works it with an orbital bone injury, which does not sound like a great idea, especially when the finish is, okay, you're going to give me a Superman punch to the face. Don't hit the orbital bone that is broken and then into the Rainmaker. So yeah, he did the whole match with the injury. And I guess it has not been confirmed if he has actually had or in fact needs the surgery. But I mean, it comes down to the extent of an orbital bone fracture. That's an awful injury to have. And certainly it would make it questionable of him being back this year. And who knows how much longer. Like an orbital bone fracture is a very significant injury. And it's been a lot of terrible injuries that this guy has had.
Yeah, I feel the most for his daughter who, has to yet again see poor dad hurt with a big boo-boo, going to.
I mean, you say it in jest, but like these injuries, like for somebody that is a father, and it's like he spent his whole summer with a broken arm, with a rod inserted. Like these are things like you can't play with your kids, or you can't just do regular daily functions. And you've just come back from one injury that required all this rehabilitation, and boom, now we're into the next phase of rehab. Like that gets tiresome when you have a lot of other priorities in your life besides pro wrestling.
Well, it's the entire reason for what, we now know to be his retirement year or his retirement tour, if you want to call it that. I mean, he doesn't want to disappoint his kids anymore and have his kids see him hurt. So whether or not this cuts that short, the deadline, according to the story, is that before his daughter turns 7, he will be taking himself out of full-time professional wrestling. And whether or not that still continues to be true with this layoff, we wonder. It's disappointing, but at the same time, maybe this is more of a sign, for him to not necessarily have this be the main thing in his life anymore. It's disappointing for all of us, certainly, especially if Wrestle Kingdom and a rematch against Okada might have been in the cards. This certainly puts that into jeopardy.
This would be really tough to imagine January 4th he can come back from, again, like the extent, like typically like a broken orbital bone, like that is, I would think like that's probably out of the cards, but I mean, we need to know like the extent of damage done, but that would seem very optimistic for January 4th.
And if you're Tony Khan, you just kind of put a lot on Bryan Danielson to be basically the surrogate for CM Punk to lead AEW Collision. Now you don't have that anymore, along with other injuries that you're dealing with all the time. But that is the business, that is, especially with the style that these wrestlers are expected to work at.
Can you imagine if you're like Tony Khan or Bryan Danielson and you're just like so down about getting the diagnosis on this, and maybe you're just like, I need to just put my mind elsewhere, and you turn on like Twitter and there's Darby Allin returns to Nitro Circus tonight because he didn't make the landing last week, and you're just thinking, Christ.
Well,
how does this guy get up from all that he does? And here's like an errant injury for to Bryan Danielson.
He's much younger and he's much crazier, I would say, than even Bryan Danielson.
You don't think Danielson's going to try Nitro Circus?
Another lifetime, perhaps.
So yeah, and if you saw Collision, it does seem like Claudio Castagnoli, of course, he's got the match with Orange Cassidy Wednesday, but I think whether it's like as a stand-in for Danielson, I think we're getting an Okada Castagnoli match at some point, and that's I mean, not a poor substitute.
Not at all. Now, is it Wrestle Kingdom worthy if Bryan versus Okada was going to be the plan over there? No, it's not yet. But in match quality wise, I think it could very well be. So I look forward to that match a lot too.
Did you see MJF and Kenny Omega on Saturday?
Yes, I did. Yes.
I thought this was, I mean, there have been I would put on the short list some of the FTR tag title matches, like the 58-minute match. This to me would be the best match thus far in Collision's relatively short history. I thought this match was just out of this world. I watched this very late on Saturday, so I hadn't seen any of the reaction to the match, so I went into this one cold, and I just thought, like, for 30 minutes, this was as compelling a television match as I have watched recently.
It was every bit, I think, a pay-per-view level main event. Certainly one of the matches of the year.
Clean finish, like way more than I think anyone expect. Like, you had the Don Callis involvement, but that was a clean finish, I would say. Like,
there was enough for, like, Kenny to be able to say, hey, like, you disrupted my concentration and you ultimately led me to, lose the match. So they do have an out, but yeah, it was about as clean as I think you could get with a little bit of distraction. But
yeah, the endorsement afterwards, like, this did not feel like one where they're planning to come back to it.
No, not at all. I mean, it was the type of match that was so good. You have to, if you're fishing for any sort of criticism, it's that, why wasn't this on a bigger stage with more?
Why didn't you make me pay for this? Yeah, that's
what sure. It's weird, but
the economic wrestling fans are thinking about. Listen, I think, okay, you wouldn't have been able to tie this in with the title record being broken. I think this is a much stronger match if you had built it up for 2 months for Full Gear. You couldn't time it out with the title reign, but I mean, with this match, versus MJF against Jay White, and we're 3 weeks out from Full Gear, and now
I actually think it's totally fine to have this on a Collision, but I guess maybe having more than 3 days build, I feel is at least maybe might have helped a little bit. Again, do we have Collision numbers yet?
No, those won't be out till Tuesday.
So
they were against the World Series though, and college football. Like this is not going to spike to a level where it's beating some of the like summer numbers for Collision. I can't fathom that. But you're right. Like, if they had this in mind, it should have been MJF kind of like goading Kenny Omega from like 30 days, 23 days, and just building it up. And it can just be random, like a countdown to what this record means. And it didn't even have to be like a significant build, but I think everyone would agree like 3 days was just too little for such a significant first time ever match that AEW has put together.
But this is so unusual, I suppose, for Tony Khan's booking. I mean, we had Punk versus MJF. Their first meeting was on television, and they must be confident enough that whenever they want to build to a rematch between the two, they will, be able to draw that same amount of interest. And they certainly would after a performance like this. I mean, this was, again, certainly one of the TV matches of the year. If somebody wants to consider it one of the matches of the year, I would not make too big of an argument. It was every bit the high caliber Kenny Omega that you expect in the world title challenge, and MJF at his best too. So fantastic match.
Ronda Rousey is going to team with Marina Shafir on November 16th in LA for a Pro Wrestling Revolver card. And this comes days after she got involved in an impromptu tag with Shafir against Taya Valkyrie and Brian Kendrick at the Lucha Vavoom show last Thursday. So this will be in Los Angeles, and it's the day before AEW is doing back-to-back nights in LA. Ronda Rousey clearly not contractually bound any longer by WWE and can do this. And do you think that this is going to at all elicit speculation about Ronda Rousey doing something in AEW? Like, she will be in LA. She's obviously open to doing wrestling, and at a very smaller level than she could be.
Sure. Yeah, why not? I think a lot of it might depend on how she looks here too, and whether or not it's a favorable performance. At the moment, I think her reputation amongst wrestling audiences, especially what I would consider more of your diehard wrestling base, that might be watching AEW, is not very positive. So I don't sense a lot of demand for Ronda Rousey in AEW, but I'm very curious to see what she does as part of this, Wrestling Revolver. It might be a one-time appearance, it might be a run, because without maybe some of the I don't even want to call them creative shackles, because like Ronda might have been somebody that really needed a lot of those sort of like a lot of the sort of like kids gloves, handling of her professional wrestling character, and certainly promos. But at the same time, I'm curious to see like what version we get outside of those confines and in more of like a free independent wrestling atmosphere. So this show has my interest, and whether or not, I certainly wouldn't expect her like to debut anytime soon for AEW, but could she be sitting ringside, to take in a match? To further speculation and her own self worth in sort of like the public sphere, possibly.
And what the overall temperature is for Ronda Rousey, like how much this is even going to be intriguing. Like certainly if you're local, like maybe this is something interested to go see.
It's on Fight.
Yeah, it's on Fight and people can check it out. I think there'll be curiosity in it, but I don't know if anyone's necessarily like beating down the doors about the latest chapter for a Ronda Rousey wrestling run. The AEW thing we're only just throwing out there because she's in the city and this is the day before. They'll be doing the live Collision and Rampage, and then the pay-per-view is Saturday. And obviously she wants to do something with Marina Shafir. So that is your tie-in. SmackDown ratings, they were on FS1 on Friday night. They did a very good number. They were 5th among all sports behind the World Series and the NBA, doing 1,145,000 viewers and a 0.35. So this would be their second largest audience ever on FS1, behind the episode in July, which was an episode built around the rules of engagement between Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. This time around, contract signing, not as enticing as the rules of engagement. So maybe they should have learned to, maybe they should have renamed this.
They should have titled this something. Yeah.
Yeah. Canada. So because of the World Series game, it was only available on Sportsnet 360. So that likely swelled the number there, but this was their largest audience since March the 31st, 256,000 viewers and 85,000 in the demo. They were up 29% from last week. And this was going against the World Series that did 9.2 million viewers and a Heat Celtics game that did 1.6 million viewers. So that was a very good showing for SmackDown, moving over to FS1. And what will be interesting is this Friday, if the series does go to 6 games, they will get moved to FS1 again because Fox is airing all of the World Series games. And this one will not have the benefit of a whole week of promotion. And obviously tonight, not being able to promote something that might not be the case. So if the series ends on Wednesday, then they're free and clear on Fox, but there is the chance that there could be a 6th game on Friday night. And it's a tape show on Friday as well.
Right.
Rampage, not good news. They fell 7% in viewership to 319,000 and a 0.09 in the demo. This was their second lowest 18 to 49 demo in its normal time slot ever for Rampage. This also going against the World Series and a slightly higher NBA game with the Golden State Sacramento, which was the late game that did 1.8 million viewers. Women 18 to 34 fell 60% this week. They were down to 4,000. That was the average throughout the 2 hours. Not a great number for Rampage, despite everyone that maybe was tuning in for the blow off to Mike Santana and Ortiz, which honestly, those two, they have had a pretty compelling feud on Rampage, but it's been sequestered to Rampage. So I don't know how many people were watching this, but I really got into the promo videos that they did, and they had a very good match on Friday night. And, it was a feud that they just kept relegated to Rampage. So you can't say like they weren't dedicating something significant for Rampage, but they were up against a lot, and it is Rampage. So
felt like a really relevant show, and maybe as of the past couple of weeks, Rampage has felt like more of a show that's worth carving an hour out of your very busy wrestling schedule to watch.
I really enjoy having a 60-minute show that goes by real quick. We're talking like 45 minutes without commercials. You usually get some good different matches. Like it feels like a WCW Saturday night back in the day where they just had this crazy roster. And yes, you could do Randy Savage against Eddie Guerrero one week. And it's like, these two would never have any reason to face off on Nitro, but on Saturday night, maybe you can just throw this out there. And that's kind of Rampage. It's just, look at our roster. We can mix and match all we want. It's a decent enough crowd that you have, but it is, late after Dynamite, but I enjoy having a 60-minute show in this sea of 3-hour shows, 2-hour shows. It's not going to be everyone's number one priority each week. And the last things here are just the cards coming up. Don't have time to go over Sawin from Saturday night. Did you hear any buzz coming out of Sawin?
Not really. I wasn't really paying much attention either. Have you?
No, but we will talk about Smashing Pumpkins later on tonight's Raw. But Halloween Havoc goes down Tuesday night, the second week of it. So this will, again, be going against the World Series. And we have Ilya Dragunov against Carmelo Hayes, their third match for the NXT title. Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, the Hart Foundation, taking on JC Jane and Thea Hale. We're probably going to get costumes for tons of people on the show tomorrow night. Maybe Green and Niven was just a preview tonight.
I think everybody might be in costume. Sure.
Do you think they redo the Hart Foundation, or do they come as something different?
You got to do something
the
new.
Same costume 2 nights in a row.
She was facing Natty tonight, right?
Yeah, but what do you dress up for as JC Jane and Thea Hale?
Mandy Rose.
That'd be kind of funny. They dress up as like Gigi and Mandy Rose.
Mm-hmm.
Dominik Mysterio against Nathan Frazier for the North American title. The finals of the women's breakout tournament. Lola Vice against Kalani Jordan. Tiffany Stratton against Fallon Henley. Braun Breaker versus Mr. Stone. And our first tables, ladders, and scares match. The Creeds taking on Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza.
Could be the Creed's last match on NXT.
Yes. Maybe the scare is someone jokes and says, "Oh, you're staying down here in NXT."
Oh, goodness.
Just kidding. Happy Halloween. You're off to Raw. Okay, so that's coming up. A very good lineup for them. And Dynamite Wednesday, 3 matches announced. Orange Cassidy and Claudio Castagnoli, which should be great. MJF and 3 mystery partners against Jay White, Juice Robinson and the Guns. And just added tonight, Jericho and Omega against Matt Menard and Angelo Parker in Louisville, Kentucky. So that is coming up. But it is Halloween, and we know that there are a lot of sites out there that want to play tricks on you. But thankfully, we have the treat, courtesy of NordVPN.
Thank you very much, John. Lovely. We're very well done. Our thanks for the last time this month to our sponsors, NordVPN. It's a service I use every day to keep my online browsing secure and encrypted. I also use it to sign up for online services I can't get in Canada. For instance, switching my location to the UK or Australia gives me the ability to subscribe to AEW Plus on Fight. It is my favorite way of catching up on AEW programming. I can start Dynamite, Collision, and Rampage whenever I want, along with archives of past AEW TV broadcasts. It's way less of a hassle than dealing with pirated websites, and it gives me full HD quality. Plus, it gives me the ability to purchase pay-per-views at half the price. You can also try using your VPN to get cheaper flights, hotel bookings, and car rentals. I've even used Nord to get cheaper Netflix and YouTube premium subscriptions. A standard 2-year plan with Nord costs $3.08 a month when you sign up at nordvpn.com/postwrestling, so it's already paid for itself many times over. You get 4 months on top of all 2-year plans when you sign up using our URL. Try it and get your money back within 30 days if you're not satisfied. Again, $3.08 a month when you sign up at nordvpn.com/postwrestling. Check the link in the show description. Sign up with code POSTWRESTLING. Get yourself some bonus months and let Nord know you found them through Post.
Beautiful, Reedway. You should be a NordVPN expert for Halloween.
I'm
you should go door to door and tell people about NordVPN.
That might get me kicked out for faster than stealing their Amazon packages.
It could. It might be as gruesome. Raw tonight was in Greenville, South Carolina. We start off with Rhea Ripley, Dominik, and JD McDonagh coming out, and Ripley is laughing about the state of Cody's ankle after Priest shattered it last week, and that Rollins and Drew have a decision to make, and it will determine who leaves as champion on Saturday. And notes that the odds are stacked against her, against 4 of the best women in WWE, but that doesn't matter. Sami Zayn comes out. He says he fought people like Judgment Day his entire life that only chase power. And if that's your game, then my name isn't Sami Zayn. It's Rebellion. Rebellion Zayn. I thought this was going to be a character change.
A rebrand.
Or he said Rebellion or Resistance. Take your pick.
Yeah, I don't know. I Sami Zayn's fine. Used to it now.
Maybe given his Quebecois roots, he could be La Resistance. He will fight to his last breath and gave a very spirited speech here and is willing to fight the Judgment Day and everything they stand for until they are no more. And Ripley says, we don't even need the numbers advantage to take care of you. And she volunteers Damian Priest to face Sami tonight. Ricochet runs down, and we segue into Ricochet against Dominik Mysterio.
I thought Rhea and Zayn both said it really good here. You know, Rhea, again, they're really trying to present basically as the leader of the group. And I thought Zayn, whenever he needs to, is able to dial up that passion to give you a really, effective babyface underdog promo whenever they need. These days, it doesn't feel as often as maybe back in, February, but it's nice that we still got a little bit of that Zayn here.
Kind of gave us like big spirited promo that like there was nothing for him to say here other than
what do you mean? He's reminding us that he's still one of the sort of leading opposers of this heel stable that's taken over the show. He's not just going to fall into the background. He will be here opposing them forever.
And he's going to start by going for JD McDonagh on the kickoff show at Crown Jewel.
Yeah, how about that? You know, the man main evented the last Saudi Arabia show and was kind of positioned as like, the biggest babyface for that particular region. This time, at least you could say he got onto the show, but are you surprised they didn't have him in a bigger slot?
No, because there was nothing really going for him other than like they could have done this. They could have done Jey Uso against one of the bloodline. They went with Sami. I'm more bummed that they're bringing back kickoff matches. I was like, you mean I got to tune in 20 minutes before the show now?
Got 8 hold matches.
This is early enough. For people on the West Coast,
10 a.m. 9:30.
10 a.m. is the main show. Yeah.
Yeah, 9:30.
Early.
By the way, speaking of forever, Ric Flair's still in the opening package, which kind of surprised me.
Someone forgot.
Yeah,
That'll be rectified.
We'll tune in tomorrow.
And they got Edge out of there pronto.
Oh,
well, good catch on your part. Dominik and Ricochet. Dominik catches the leg of Ricochet, crotches him on the middle rope, and they heavily promoted Halloween Havoc throughout the night and Dominik's match with Nathan Frazier. Ricochet comes back, standing shooting star and a suicide dive. They go through the break, and then after Dominik misses a 619, there's a handspring back elbow, Cabrata for a 2 count, and then lands the super kick to Dominik. Ricochet climbs to the top, but Rhea gets onto the apron, and JD gets involved behind the referee's back, and Dominik rolls up Ricochet, and man, he just went to the heel handbook here. He hooked the tights, put his feet on the ropes, and got the pin on Ricochet in 11 minutes and 27 seconds. And then Ricochet takes out JD and hits the recoil on Dom before Rhea pulls Dominik to safety away from the shooting star press.
I thought it was a really good TV match. Ricochet looked excellent, as did Dominik, who really does continue to impress, like, given maybe, again, relatively lack of, experience working various styles. But, man, he hung in there, and he looked really good.
Yeah, you go from Ricochet one night to Nathan Frazier the next.
It's quite the pairing, right? And I'm sure that tomorrow's match is going to be fantastic too.
This show had to have set a record for the amount of video packages on it. First up was a video on the history of DIY. And then we had promo packages throughout the night from the 5 women involved in the women's title match at Crown Jewel, beginning with Raquel Rodriguez. And this was, I'm coming to win the title and no one will stop me. Can that summarize the 5?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, you did get a bit of a taste of, the voices of each person, but there wasn't a whole lot of substance, I would say, to any of these individual ones. Though I do enjoy the fact that they, probably might have been forced into it for whatever reason, maybe just to give people some time off before like lengthy travel to Saudi Arabia. But on the other hand, I think the video packages in this case helped give them 5 different chances to advertise this match throughout the course of the night. And by the end, it kind of made it feel like one of the bigger matches on this card simply because of the number of times they reminded us of it.
Yeah. Who was the poor editor that was said, hey, we need to remind people who Candice LeRae is. Can you put a video package there for Candice LeRae? Sure. I'll get right on that.
Well, Michael Cole certainly needed it.
Well, tonight. Michael Cole needed a refresher too. Alpha Academy come out. Their open challenge was answered by the Creeds coming up, along with Ivy Nile, who was brought out here. And they did a video together on Julius and Brutus Creed. And we start off with a wrestling sequence between Gable and Julius delivering a deadlift vertical, like from a seated position up to his feet, and then hands him off to Brutus. And they get the 2 big guys in with Brutus and Otis. So they're doing power spots together. And then a pair of double suplexes as the Creeds go to the floor. We come back. Otis does the caterpillar. And then it's Brutus with an axe handle and a standing moonsault. Gable's in for the save. And then Brutus can't get Otis off his feet. He gets caught off the turnbuckle into a world's strongest slam. And the save is made when Julius comes off the top with a 450 splash, followed by Gable with a top rope moonsault. And this was when this crowd was super into this and the athleticism. You've got Michael Cole comparing them to the Steiners and the Road Warriors. Maxine gets on the apron, so this gets her and Ivy Nile involved, and then Maxine pulls down Ivy. Tozawa gets involved, and then it's Tozawa taking a German suplex from Ivy Nile. The Otis bomb gets stopped, and then Julius lifts up Otis on the shoulders, followed by the Brutus ball, and they pin Otis in 10 minutes and 57 seconds. This is how you call up a team. And they look great in this match. I thought this was a great matchmaking decision to put them in with these two. And man, they just got over to me in this 11-minute match. They gave them time, they shined, and then they put them over at the end as well. So I thought this was a great handling of the Creeds for people that had never seen them before. And I thought this was like a really strong introduction.
Incredible debut of an NXT call-up, and they've had a few, you know. I mean, as recently as Dragon Lee, who I thought had a very similar show-stealing type of performance that got people talking about them coming out of the show, despite not making any prior appearances on the main roster. But it's a pretty simple formula, isn't it? You know, bring them out, let them have a hot match with appropriate opponents, give them enough time to, you know, have the match itself and to do cool moves. Commentary, I thought, also did a great job of educating the audience, not just about the brothers, but Ivy Nile as well, who got her own little spot. So really, really fantastic treatment of what obviously what they consider to be a pretty big project, giving them a win on their debut over Alpha Academy here. So I certainly wouldn't have thought that like the Creed brothers would be on the same level as like DIY, you know, looking at when both of those acts might have started over in NXT. But like you have DIY, that's very much a representation of Black and Gold, the representation of Black and Gold. And I would say the Creed brothers very much a representation of 2.0. And they're both kind of getting their starts essentially at the same time, or at least on the same level here. And I would even contend that the Creed brothers probably had a more memorable match tonight.
I thought they came off like really well. DIY, it feels as though they're trying to channel what was there for both of these guys that have really like the audience has seen these two struggle on the main roster and now trying to get them going with an act that worked years ago, whereas the Creeds have that freshness to them. Fans have not seen them climb up and struggle and fail. And I think that there's something to be said for that. And I think that people have a lot of confidence that, you know, next week we're not going to see, you know, Brutus being a guy who like does cannonballs into pools. And I don't know, what would you do with Julius? He'd be like,
they've done some goofy stuff in NXT, you know.
They have, but I think like they'll have a better projection here. We will see. But I also like the idea of like you can certainly revisit like Julius and Chad Gable. Like you can get some TV matches out of this and have like some kind of you know, partnership here. And this is a great team to introduce the Creeds with over several weeks beyond just tonight.
Agreed. But because of the similarity maybe to Chad Gable and Alpha Academy, I wonder if they might be thinking about SmackDown for the team instead.
Yeah, they did have Wade mention that, you know, indicating like they're free agents and Raw and SmackDown should both be going after them. So you could very well see them. They couldn't be on SmackDown this week, but the idea of like both GMs are interested in the Creeds and making it feel like they're free agents. The New Day show up dressed as Damian Priest and Xavier Woods for Halloween. And
the new Judgment Day.
The new Judgment Day. And they walk into Ripley and Dominik before leaving. And Dominik says that Ricochet needs to pay. Priest says, like, we don't have any leaders in this, but you volunteered me for this match with Sami Zayn tonight. And I've got a lot of things on my mind. So Ripley says that, Damian, you are the punishment Martinez of Judgment Day. And Priest says, let's make tonight about Judgment Day. And they all cheer and say, yeah, we're all Judgment Day.
Right. But with, you know, I guess Priest kind of giving more of like a hesitant look towards Rhea, and Rhea kind of trying to smooth things out, even though she knows that she's been overstepping her bounds as leader, of the group. So I think this has all been pretty well done. I think they've effectively built some interesting tension between Rhea and Priest. I continue to love JD thinking and acting as if he's a part of the group, but like Rhea kind of doing things like, like taking his hand away when he's going for like, the sort of group thing, and Priest still not accepting him. So there are some really interesting like group dynamics between the characters right now. It's not at peak Bloodline levels when you had Sami and Jay and Jimmy and Solo, everybody, but it's approaching it. I would say they're doing a very good job with them.
Does Damian Priest cash in on Rhea?
And that would be the ultimate swerve, right?
They would never see it coming. Nia Jax promo, just squash. She's really trying to get squashed over. Not exactly working. MizTV with pumpkins on the set. He introduces Gunther, but Gunther doesn't come out. Instead, Vinci and Kaiser make their way out, and they just berate the Miz. He's everything that's wrong with the WWE universe today. You're just a clown. But Miz says, at least I've never been a sidekick, and calls Vinci a third wheel. And Miz is stunned when Vinci finally speaks. Vinci says, I talk when I want to talk, and Kaiser shuts him down. Gunther comes out, and Gunther says he's part of this segment, but he makes it clear he is not the guest on MizTV. He would never lower himself to be a guest on MizTV. He does not respect the Miz. Miz comes back stating, I interviewed an invisible John Cena in this seat, and he was more entertaining than you. And says that he is the biggest star in WWE, and I can be serious when I want to be. He beat Orton for the title. He headlined WrestleMania against John Cena, and he won a world title a decade later. And he made the IC title the most prestigious in all of WWE, and he can do it again, which Gunther and many people laughed at. Gunther calls him a great sports entertainer, which might have been a historical note where sports entertainer was an act of insult here. He says that you are about creating moments, so let's create another moment. And Kaiser takes the pumpkin. I thought they were going to put the pumpkin on his head, but that was reserved for later. Instead, he smashes it, and Gunther challenges him to do something about it. Miz attacks Kaiser and gets dropped by a chop, and it leads to a 3-on-1 attack as Miz then retreats and goes to the back as DIY comes out.
I thought this was a really great segment. First of all, I love the fact that despite both of these acts being heels, they're not automatically friends with each other. Because philosophically, Imperium should be directly opposed to somebody like the Miz. Their philosophy. I mean, they're representatives of I guess the most pure sport-based sort of professional wrestlers in the actual company, and the fact that the Miz is probably the most pure representative of sports entertainment that they might have, I think it made for some really interesting sort of dynamics in this particular relationship, and it actually paved the way for what seemed to be at least a one-night babyface turn for the Miz here, where he was basically opposing a heel stable 3-on-1, and he was holding his own on the microphone. I mean, there's something to be said about the immense confidence for a guy that gets criticized for not having balls, I suppose. On the microphone, I mean, his balls are huge. Okay, like he really is fantastic in terms of his confidence, in his ability to talk up his accolades from 10 years ago that you might as well have been from, I guess, last week, the way he brings them up, week after week. But I thought he had some really great comebacks. Can't say I'm interested in a match coming out of this or Miz sort of intercontinental title chase, but I thought these promos were really strong.
But this does justify a spot in a 4-way number one contenders match, and that's what you got to. I don't even think you're getting this match, but it was fine to build up what I really thought they were going to just like shotgun this onto Crown Jewel or something on Saturday, which I like this segment. I didn't need this match added.
Gunther feels at this point like a strictly TV, title defender, right?
That's largely what they've been utilizing him for. So Miz is with Adam Pearce backstage, and he says that he is a first ballot Hall of Famer. So, I mean, another.
The Observer first ballot, you think?
Yeah, I don't think he's going in on his.
Did you debate the Miz? Is he eligible? Yeah.
He would be eligible. I don't think he's ever been on the ballot though. He wants a title match. Pearce indicates that another person is interested in a title shot as Bronson Reed walks in. So we would get that announcement later for a 4-way next week on Raw. But we go back to the ring, DIY, which they promoted. It's DIY's first match on Raw. Like, this was, just cause for celebration.
It's not even really true, is it? Like, didn't they team up like way back when like during their first call-up, when they were actually feuding with each other?
Well, they didn't have the John Cena clarifications on this. Maybe it's like their first televised match on Raw in October.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is their first match as #DIY.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ciampa sends Vinci to the floor with a knee. Gargano hit a suicide dive. They had a very good match here. Kaiser drops Gargano on the floor. They come back from the break with the advantage on Gargano, who makes the tag after a DDT. And Ciampa does his big comeback, inverted DDT. And then Kaiser with the DVD. Gargano makes the save. And then Vinci scales to the top, misses a moonsault, and right into a knee from Ciampa. And then they hit him with meeting in the middle and pin him in 850. Kaiser's pissed at Vinci, so we continue this. I think it's been like months of this guy being on the brink of being fired, and we're back to that as well. But fine tag match for a DIY, a historical match for them coming back together.
I thought a really good match.
My highlight was Wade Barrett explaining what DIY means. It's that do-it-yourself mentality. That's what DIY is all about.
Some people might not know. This is a show that gets broadcast in many countries, Don, and they might not use that saying or that abbreviation everywhere. This was like the type of match that I think would have received like a standing ovation in the Performance Center, but tonight's crowd just like didn't seem to cherish it as much. And I mean, I just maybe chalk it up to like where Ciampa and Gargano are, sort of on the totem pole of importance. And I thought you pointed it out perfectly. Whereas the Creeds are debuting, they feel fresh. They're on like a linear path from NXT moving up and achieving, the potential is there. Whereas like Gargano and Ciampa, despite this being quote unquote their first time teaming up together on the main roster, it feels like we are trying to recapture magic that's already been lost. Not to say they can't do it, but because they certainly can't. But like, man, their re-debuts have been their call-ups have been so jumbled, for years now, that they're going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting to convince people that this one will be different.
Another video from Shinsuke Nakamura. He's still looking for his next sacrifice. Where are you? Do you want me to choose you, or will you choose me? Awaken me. What are you afraid of? Poke the lion. That is what a strong, brave hero does. Do it. Show yourself. I am waiting. And boy, when he opened the door later tonight to find out who was behind it for next week's match, boy, that's the look I think everyone had.
Akira Tozawa would be stepping through the door.
This is this big match next week. I thought it was going to be Katsuhiko Nakajima.
I think he's busy now, is he?
By the way, for Nakajima, he finished up with Noah over the weekend, and he is doing a Triple Crown match. He's doing the match with Kento Miyahara this week. It's a rematch back when Miyahara had the Triple Crown title. This is not. Oh, sorry, I read this wrong. He is challenging for the Triple Crown title on November 5th. So he did the angle with Miyahara, who is not the Triple Crown champion. So I guess he is facing Yuma Aoyagi, then, would be my assumption from this.
So is he signed with All Japan, or is this?
I don't think he's signed. I think this is just they're doing this. This feels like a one-off.
Okay.
So anyway, That's the latest on the Nakajima front. Then Michael Cole throws to a video package on Candice Michelle. She's back.
And yeah, Michael. Wow, they're really pulling out all the stops here for crowd.
Nostalgia is a hell of a drug. But then they swerved us.
You got Ric Flair. We got Candice Michelle.
So Candice LeRae video aired. She is tenacious and never wavers, no matter what stands in her way. That's what they had to work around with the video package. And then Wade just made fun of Michael Cole for the rest of this show, that he's stuck in 2008. And Cole's like, I'm never going to live this down.
The man has to remember a lot of names, I suppose.
I mean, yeah, there's how many Candices has he called in his career? 2?
Yeah, there must be another Candice.
Candice Cameron ever a guest host? I don't think so.
Not to my knowledge. No.
Yeah. Well, Candice LeRae, not Michelle, took on Xia Li. And after Xia Li used the ring skirt to try and suffocate Candice, she hits a high kick and a spinning roundhouse kick. And Candice LeRae wobbles to the floor. She goes down, and the referee has to call this off in 2:05 as she waves down the trainers. And Xia Li wins by knockout here, which we had, like, she nails the kick. Candice is out, and the referee's like, wait. Like, this isn't how it works. Is this a stoppage or not? Like, let's check if she can. And boy, did this referee give her the leniency here.
So I very much think that they were trying to like act as if this was like a shoot knockout, you know. I think that's what they were trying to convey. Like that same sort of awkwardness of like, hey, what's this weird pause in action that's not supposed to be there? Coupled with she might have, like, the referee might have thrown the X, you know, at some point. And like I didn't hate this finish at all. I in fact I kind of liked it as a way to continue to educate your audience that TKO or like ref stoppages should be a thing, especially when, you know, you might actually have to rely on them. Especially like, man, even in the match prior where like Vinci took that like brutal knee from Ciampa that did not look great. Listen, like you know, we talk about this all the time. We talked about it with Mox. We talked about it with Bryan. Wrestling fans have to be open to the idea that matches should be stopped at any point. And I almost felt like this was like paving the way for the next time something like this needs to happen legitimately.
Zayn and Jey Uso, they're in the back. Jey wishes Zayn good luck. And then Jackie Redmond comes in. I want to speak to Jey, not you, Sami. So Sami has to leave very awkwardly. And Jey is here just to say, I'd love to win the tag titles again with Cody. And then see how Rhea feels about that. Yeet.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jey. Great update. Shayna Baszler video. And then we had this great video on Drew McIntyre. He returns to the Performance Center, an empty Performance Center, as we see highlights of WrestleMania 36, a time that no one wants to remember. And he asks himself, was the sacrifice worth it? He goes over being fired in 2014, giving everything to this industry and coming back to win the Royal Rumble. I had the fans behind me, and then everything changed. And I did what I've always done, my job. I put my body through hell. And then he had his run as champion. The pandemic ended, and he had to crawl his way back all the way to Clash at the Castle in Wales. And there we see Solo Sikoa and his absence. They could not find a clean shot of Jey Uso getting involved in this match that Drew cannot forgive him for. And Solo costing him the championship against Roman Reigns. Says he can't erase the past of what they did, but he can make it right at Crown Jewel. This is everything for both him and Seth. Seth might be willing to break his back to keep that title. Well, I'm willing to break his back to win it. And Rollins was my first title defense. I'm going to be Seth's last.
Excellent video. I mean, there were a lot of video packages tonight. Again, I think most of them used very effectively, but a lot of them
at the top of the
20. Yeah, I would say a lot of them low on substance and really just like they're essentially just like, here's their name, you know. But this was actually telling a story, and it's a great story at that. You know, Drew has been again the most interesting character certainly on Raw, maybe the entire WWE. And a video like this presented the totality of his story very effectively. It's a story that encompasses a lot of time and a lot of, you know, visuals from, you know, years past at this point. And in a digestible 4-minute package, you got it all.
I thought this was great. Like the idea of like the empty Performance Center and the shots of the empty seats. They just did a really good job of this. I think overall, like this build has been a very good one between Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre. Zoe Stark promo video. Can't share the same analysis for that video. But then Seth comes out and he states, I'm a fan of Drew McIntyre. So I say this with all due respect, which knew a shot was coming. Boo-hoo. You Scottish baby. All of us were suffering in 2020 during the pandemic. We had people worried about their next paycheck, their groceries coming, not being able to see a loved one again. And you're crying about not winning a title the way you wanted to. I mean, this guy just carved up Drew in this promo. You don't see Sami Zayn crying about the bloodline. And even though I don't like him, Cody not crying about it. Drew, you were a great champion, and if you win, I'll manage to shake your hand. But you're not facing the same man you did during your title reign. I'm not the Messiah. I'm not the Architect. I mean, this is god-awful names, too.
Had a lot of them, yeah.
The Messiah. And then with that, he is jumped by JD McDonagh, which takes us into the match. But a good promo here from Seth Rollins. And I think like giving you like your babyface promo, like this is a promo that like any fan listening to this can be like, yeah, okay, you didn't win a title in front of 60,000 people. You're alive.
Totally. A very strong promo from Rollins, I thought, in that regard. I mean, I think this is the best feuds have a heel that can make a great case and a babyface that can make an even better case to defeat sort of like, I don't know, whatever flawed logic might be in the heel's argument. But it requires a heel that can argue it really well and believe in their argument really well. And I think Drew is that. I thought Rollins tonight gave a great counterpoint that effectively swayed the crowd back to his side.
Maybe Drew could come back and say, hey, I had to work all the shows as champion. We weren't even testing for COVID during those first few months. Okay, so that's what I was going through.
Ooh, I don't know if they want to mention that.
Seth and JD McDonagh. Rollins tosses JD to the floor, hits a suicide dive, and then they go to break as the crowd is singing. JD is continually avoiding the pedigree, and then he takes a buckle bomb, and as Seth goes for the frog splash, Damian Priest walks down with the briefcase, and he is positioned ringside as Rollins hits a back suplex off the top of the ring. And much like the last match we saw, the referee came over, checked on Seth and his back. It was the prime source of this back suplex affecting his spine, and they just waved off the match because this back is what they've been. No, Seth actually just popped right up after this back suplex off the top. And
one's a story, one's real. Okay.
Oh,
that's why.
I wish they had just explained that, you know, whoever wins this last man standing match, Seth or Shinsuke, the winner gets like stem cells. And that's why his spine is like rejuvenated now.
That was stem cell on a pole match.
Hell in a stem cell.
Very good.
So then Rollins flips JD up and over into the pedigree and hits the stomp to win the match in 13 minutes and 57 seconds, gets right up into Damian's face, dares him to make a move, and tells him, don't waste that on me. So a nice match that Rollins and JD had with the oversight of Damian Priest here, who came down and did nothing.
I mean, he played mind games, you know, and put the
how effective.
Well, he fit the tease in there so that on, what is it, Saturday, you know, he might be off his game. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, bad back that Seth is nursing to go into Saturday with. He's weakened based on this match, clearly.
Oh, well, of course he is. Give him a few days, though.
Very curious about this back injury of Seth's.
Well, it's a long-term story, you see. Anyway, but I mean, I wonder if Drew was actually present tonight, and if they didn't have that very good video, if they might have done more in studio. But I thought the video itself was effective enough, and maybe they just decided to you know, continue.
They've done the face-to-face already. I thought that video was super effective. The response, I don't even know if you really needed another.
You didn't, no. And I think having the Priest reminder adds another element to the match, or at least the pay-per-view, that you could get the cash in.
They do have the live event tomorrow is in Glasgow, and I assume Drew is probably maybe on that show as well. So that is probably where he was. Ricochet is with Adam Pearce, complains about the ending to the match with Dominik. He wants an IC title shot. That's what Pearce offers him, the match to get into. And then Chelsea Green and Piper Niven show up as the Hart Foundation. This was a pretty good outfit, especially Piper Niven as Jim Neidhart and doing the laugh at the end. This might have been Piper Niven's like biggest contribution on Raw so far.
Perhaps. They looked amazing.
Yeah, this was good.
Great
it was
outfit.
Very good. It was like Chelsea Green got like a perm here for this this interpretation of Brett. And I mean, Jesus Christ, Piper Niven as Jim Neidhart was just fantastic.
Excellent.
I mean, really good stuff.
Might have borrowed the jacket from Natty.
Probably did. You would think.
Maybe.
And what was funny was Pearce goes from this scene to he turns around, and then the more ridiculous Halloween costumes walk in with Ivar and Valhalla, who's like, no, this is just our natural state. And they want to talk about an IC title match as well. So you can see where this is going to. Jackie interviews Becky Lynch, and she has lost the women's title, but praises Lyra Valkyria and defended her title more than Rhea Ripley and Roman Reigns have all year. Burn. And she doesn't need the title needs her. And then Xia Li walks in asking if she's scared of her. Becky's willing to fight right now, and Xia says, on my time.
I thought Xia sounded really good here. You know, I was impressed with her delivery and her confidence in this scene. They also gave her, like in her video package, subtitles as well. So, um, I I hope that this is a proper run for her. She had those great, remember those animated vignettes telling her story about the bully and everything.
And remember the entrance she had after they aired those? Tonight she had a much like she just had like very basic like
Got rid of the what is it, the augmented reality VR type of thing.
but
But I
she's a
hope this.
master in wushu, as Wade Barrett noted.
Yes, she is. Yeah, I hope this means like a sustained push for her, because she's sort of been in waiting for quite a while. But in that time, it seems like her confidence has really kind of gone up on the microphone.
Well, she should get a TV match with Becky at the very least.
Yeah.
This is where they announced Sami Zayn and JD McDonagh added to the kickoff of Crown Jewel. Chelsea Green, Natalya, trick or street fight, which I felt I watched on Saturday with Hikaru Shida and Abaddon, but we got the WWE version here. Pumpkin pie, candy corn, kendo sticks. We had bobbing for apples.
Is candy corn that bad?
No,
like I don't even know if I've had candy corn. I probably just always threw it out as a kid. But is it that like hard?
Let me tell you, of the things that you could pour out of a bag, this would be the one I would take a superplex on.
What wouldn't you take a superplex on?
Tax, Lego, glass.
I was gonna say just like a candy, you know, for the theme. Of course.
Like
rockets,
toffee, like those hardened ones, the ones in the
caramels.
The ones that you would get that were in the orange and brown twisty
those
ties.
are awful.
That always felt like someone has left these.
Don't be the house that gives those away.
They're the worst.
I don't know why they even sell them. Like, do people like actually actively buy them, or is it just
they're probably on sale at like a bulk barn, and you just get 500 of them? And
I'll tell you what, Toblerone. Okay, not that many people are giving out Toblerones for Halloween, but if you want to pick candy,
suplex on Toblerone.
Yeah, watch out.
Would you ever be give out the actual size candy bars, or are you like the minis?
I have a mortgage, dude. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
I can't afford that.
So they go through all of these spots here, and Green is shoved into the bobbing for apples spot. Niven then goes after Natalya, and she tries for a double sharpshooter, but is sent into the post. And then Natalya lifts up the pumpkin. This did not get the Hikaru Shida pop on Saturday.
There are no We Want Pumpkins.
No, that crowd went insane for the pumpkin on Collision. But this time, lifts it up. Green then lifts another pumpkin, and there is Nikki Cross. This was definitely a great spot. It was the only memorable part of this match for me. She's just looking stoic, and Green freaks out and drops the pumpkin on top of her own head and then walks into the post where the pumpkin falls off.
Yes.
This was great. Like Wade Barrett, I think he was like semi-confused if it was really her or a dummy. And Michael Cole is like, no, I saw her nose flinch. It really is Nikki Cross. Cause dude, she was not moving here. This is an incredible level of concentration.
Not since Linda McMahon in WrestleMania 17 have we had such a great performance.
Candy corn is poured out of the bag, but Green stops Natalya and power bombs her on it. Green is the one that takes the power bomb on the candy corn, but then the sharpshooter is applied. Niven gets on the apron to stop it, and then Green misses, throwing pie in Niven's face, but it leads to the unprettier off the distraction, and Chelsea Green, one of the women's tag team champions, gets a victory on television in 5:33.
Unreal. Well, she lost the Shotzi.
She's lost to everybody.
Queen of Halloween. Well, what they can't just give away wins everywhere, right? You know, she finally needed one. She got it here. Maybe she should stay dressed as Brett.
I think they should be the HEART Foundation from now on. I think this is a way better path for these two.
The HEART. Why?
The Heart Foundation. Like that's
but what does Hearts have to do?
Well, she's the I feel it would work for Chelsea. You've got the unprettier.
Okay. All right. I like it.
I'm going for ideas for this tag division, and I think you could go a lot worse than this.
Yeah. I thought this was an entertaining match, John. You know, it was not meant to be taken seriously in the least, and you could clearly tell.
I took this very, very seriously.
Yeah. What's your cage match rating for this match?
I don't know.
It was meant to be taken as fun, and I thought it was. You know, I thought Chelsea is perfect for a match like this. She was really funny, I thought, and if this was the only type of match you had on this show, then yes, you could complain. But this show already gave us some great wrestling throughout these 3 hours, and I thought a match like this to break it up was perfectly acceptable.
So next week, it is Bronson Reed, The Miz, Ivar, and Ricochet for the IC title shot, and Shinsuke Nakamura against Akira Tozawa. This is the one and only time I think ever that we will have an advertised Akira Tozawa match a week out from a program.
I don't know if it'll be very long of a match, John. Might be 30 seconds tops here. So what could Tozawa be leading to, though? I mean, could it be Gable? Could it be Otis as Nakamura's actual sacrifice?
That's possible. You could get them into like one of those two, which is a fine direction to go to. It feels like they're building up for something grander.
Mm-hmm.
Has Shinsuke retired the GTS after all these weeks?
I mean, last he wrestled, I feel like he used it.
Yeah, he did. So maybe we'll find out next week.
Maybe that's the big sacrifice.
Maybe that should have been what Akira Tozawa dressed up as tonight to set up the match. Kenta.
Oh, okay, as Kenta, right.
Damian Priest and Sami Zayn is the main event. After the break, Balor and Dominik come down. South of Heaven gets countered into a roll-up, and Priest hits the Reckoning, which Michael Cole points out, that's the Reckoning. He doesn't use that much anymore. And you know what, Wade? It looks a lot like the Crossroads, who he's facing on Saturday. Well, Michael Cole, could you possibly carry me by the hand more to get this story over? Like, my God, someone just thought of this. Like, wait a minute. They had the same finisher. He stopped using this when Cody came to WWE. They're facing on Saturday. It's like, I love the simplicity of this, but now you have both men fighting on Saturday with the same finisher. Dom nails Zayn behind the ref's back. Balor distracts as Jey Uso comes out, taking out Dom and Taylor. And then Jey just comes into the ring, and then he fends off Priest with a super kick. So we get a DQ in 9 minutes and 11 seconds. Trick or treat. And then Judgment Day beat down Jey and Zayn when Cody's music hits and the man limps down to the ring, going after Priest. He's got the recuperative skills of Seth Rollins because he was able to hold his own here on one leg. Jey and Zayn hit dives to the floor onto Balor and Dom. And then Cody gets Damian Priest on top of the desk, but he is saved by JD from a Crossroads. JD then eats a haluva kick, and this guy is just a crash test dummy. He takes 2 Crossroads on top of the desk. The table is 2-0 after these moves. And Cody then gets on the mic and says, Priest was unsuccessful taking him out. I get back up. That's my story. What's your story? And I was like, dude, it's 10:59. You don't have time for a story. You've got time for a limerick at most. And he goes on about, you're behind all the members of the Judgment Day. You're behind Rhea. You're behind Finn. You're behind even Dominik. And I get back on my path on Saturday, and my path goes straight through Damian Priest. And then our go-home line is Michael Cole asking, will it be a Saudi Arabia nightmare for Damian Priest?
Oh, goodness.
Interpret that however you will. Tune in Saturday. It's Crown Jewel.
Well, I thought quite the promo from Cody here. You know, he was not given that much time. Probably a lot of that time.
They went over slightly.
Well, a lot of time probably taken from that second Crossroads. I mean, you could tell like he was kind of debating, should I do it again? This crowd really wants it. And the table does not break.
Don't
again,
hold the people back.
Maybe they need some sort of remote that automatically breaks those tables that they can control from the back.
Just
or something.
Explodes upon any kind of impact.
Sure, I don't know, but a hell of a promo I thought. Here, fired up from last week's attack. He had a great voice and attacked Priest at his core insecurities here, pointing out that Rhea is more of a leader than he is. Even Dom is more of a leader than he is. So, strong end, I thought.
That was Raw. A fine episode tonight. It had a few decent matches. I really enjoyed the introduction of the Creeds. I thought that was like one of the big takeaways on the show. Good build for Rollins and for Drew. Rollins had a very good match with JD McDonagh. Ricochet, Dominik, it was fine. DIY, Kaiser, and Vinci. Like, you really did not have it was like the 2 women's matches were kind of your lower points on the wrestling, but I had no problem with the Xia Li, Candice LeRae finish. And to your point, like the trick or street fight was the trick or street fight.
Yeah, say that 5 times.
I can't. I definitely can't.
I thought it was a good Raw. You know, like it was a Raw where like the 3 hours, for once didn't
It
necessarily
flew by, you just blinked and it was over.
I'm not gonna say that, but it
One
did.
more hour. One more hour.
Yes. But I thought it was a good show that like had very effective use of video, built Walter Crown Jewel, like you said, great debut for the Creeds. I would say a very good debut for DIY as well, re-debut, I should say, and did everything you needed to for Crown Jewel.
All right. If you want to shoot in any super chats, you're welcome to do so. And a reminder that we will be back later on this week. We have up next that will be on Wednesday this week at 2 p.m. Eastern time, because Davey and Braden will be off Halloween night, but back the following day, recovering from Halloween night. So tune in at 2 and see what is left of Braden and Davey.
Or tomorrow night, go on their social medias and look up, see what they're dressed up as. How are they going to follow up Arn Anderson, Glock Anderson, and Cody Rhodes from last year?
Yeah, I mean, boy, that's high praise to try and follow that one. Also on Wednesday, Pollock and Thurston at 3 will be joined by Kareem Zidane and then myself and Way Wednesday night for Rewind to Dynamite. And finally, Rewind Away on Thursday. We are going back to April 26th of 2000 for WCW Thunder. David Arquette winning the WCW championship. I have not started this show yet. I've been putting it off, and we'll have to watch it over the next 2 days.
Okay. Let's go to Jake Olinar, who sends a super chat just to say, rest in peace, Matthew Perry. Chandler was his favorite friend.
Were you a big Friend watcher?
I mean, big enough. It was never my favorite show, but I probably have seen almost every episode, and a very sad story. Absolutely.
A very, very sad story. He lived a very, very troubled life, and was very open about it. And I mean, seemed to be somebody that was just, you talk about somebody that was just just beset with tons of alcohol and drug dependency, but seemed like just the amount of tributes for him of this guy that just sought out to help so many people as well. Like you've just seen a lot of, I really like the quote that when he was promoting his book last year and stating the fact that like, it's great and all with friends, but it's like, I don't want that to be my legacy. I want my legacy to be that, I'm somebody that has been through all of this and have tried to help others. Like he seemed like somebody that was just, chasing happiness. And this is a very, it's a very complicated thing to define in people's life. But I think certainly, I was not a religious viewer of Friends, but watched enough, and I think everyone enjoyed the character of Chandler Bing. He was also great on West Wing. He was on Sunset Studio 60 when that was running.
I never watched much beyond that, but I mean, on Friends, like I kind of almost considered him like the lead. I mean, there really is no lead. It's very much like Judgment Day. There is no leader in Friends, but he always seemed to me had some of the more main storylines. His relationship with Monica. I mean, maybe a tie-in to David Arquette, I suppose, but the on-screen husband of Courtney Cox. He was great in that role and was just really fantastic on that show. So yeah, rest in peace.
All right, we're going to go to Manny from Pacoima. Never did I ever think the Challenge and WWE would come together. It's a Saw-win miracle. The Creeds had a fantastic debut. I honestly didn't think they would actually pick up the win. I do hope they're given a mouthpiece because the promo is where they lack. Cole's one-liners during the trick or street fight had me laughing. I don't drink, but his candy is candy and liquor is quicker really popped me. Hope you all have a wonderful and safe Halloween night. Well, you too, Manny.
Thanks, Manny. We got a Muggin who says the Go Home show had some things to like. Sami Zayn is stepping up. Creed Bros and Alpha Academy was an Olympic level tag match, and it was even better that the Creeds went over. Halloween Havoc tomorrow should be their swan song from NXT. DIY didn't miss a step. The Drew McIntyre vignette was terrific as it paints him in a sympathetic light. Cody gave Priest some much needed food for thought. Does he want to be a leader or a follower?
Muggin always leaves us with like those deep philosophical questions from this show. I always appreciate those. So yes, is he a follower or is he a leader? Tune in Saturday.
I don't know.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for the feedback and for tuning in tonight. Again, Rewind Away Thursday for all members at postwrestlingcafe.com. Wednesday, we'll go over some of the highlights coming up this month on the Post Wrestling Cafe, but we will have 3 editions of Rewind Away coming up this month. What are the shows we are reviewing? We'll tune in Wednesday. And also, the the audio updates, still a staple throughout the week for Double Double and Espresso members at postwrestlingcafe.com. You got one on Sunday as well as today from yours truly. So you can check those out and enjoy. Have a safe Halloween and tune in to Up Next on Wednesday to find out the reveals of you have any predictions, or do you already know what they are dressing up as?
Man, he told me, but I've completely forgotten now. So
okay.
It is wrestling related. So I'm sure we'll all get a great kick out of it. I remember reacting really well when he told me. So
the bar is high. Okay. So
bar is very high. Hey, very quickly, CharityBuzz.com/MMM2, where we have Robert Pearson's Real Digital Monster Media Mash 2 auction, where you can bid on your chance to have your own edition of Rewind Away, where we review whatever you want. Send your bids in. We have one more week to go.
Yeah, we really want to like destroy everyone at this. Okay. So there's multiple people that you can bid on. I want us to be able to just dwarf everybody else in the field. So you get your own edition of Rewind Away, as well as some very limited edition John Pollock and Wai Ting themed merchandise. So go on over, place your bid, and
we're not beating Peter Rosenberg here. Currently, he's at 1,000 bids. Okay, for a personalized cheap heat championship belt.
5 bids, not 1,000. But
sorry, a bid of $1,000. Okay, we got to catch up. All right, so we're currently at 250. It's okay. There's still time to go. But yeah, I don't think we're catching Peter Rosenberg.
Well, we can try. So once again, the address is
CharityBuzz.com/MMM2.
All right, there you go. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll speak with you on Wednesday.